Okay, we are now going into the four paragraphs that are going to take us from slaves to free people. We're going to start with the first one of the four. It's usually a good place to start. To say an Aramean. I'll go again. The way it works for anyone that hasn't studied Jewish text before, you should do that. Wink. Is that you'll get this very dense statement, and then we're going to go through and extrapolate all of the intricacies that are hidden in this dense statement. At which point you get this huge picture of a landscape that you thought was just a throwaway sentence. It says an Aramean attempted to destroy my father. Then he descended to Egypt to sojourn there with few people, and he became a nation, great, mighty, and numerous. So now we're going to go through. We're going to explain what does that mean. So it says he descended to Egypt compelled by divine decree. So we cannot look at Jewish slavery and Jewish suffering as anything other than a divine decree. It was not happenstance. In the situation that we found ourselves in Mitzrayim, God planned this out. He sojourned there. That means when Jacob went down to Egypt, Jacob did not go to move. That wasn't his plan. He wasn't, oh yeah, I'm moving to San Diego. No. Jacob was moved there to be there for only a temporary period of time. There's a very interesting Jewish halacha that when you would build a house, you're not supposed to finish it entirely. That as long as we're not living in the land of Israel, Jews are always supposed to see themselves as sojourning. We're on a journey. We're here, we're somewhere else. Definitely, it doesn't mean that we don't pay taxes. We pay lots of taxes. You follow all the rules of the land you live in. But a Jew should always look at himself when he's not living in the land of Israel, when the temple's not rebuilt, as sort of in a transitory stage. And anyone that knows what it's like to be in a transitory stage, has ever in their own life gone through uncertainty, not knowing what's going to be. So that's a little bit of our consciousness. We feel like we're missing something. So we showed up in Egypt, and we're like, okay, we're here for a little bit. We came with few people, 70 people, and there we became a nation. Now the Haggada says this shows us, right, that we were distinctive there, that we dressed differently, that we talked differently, that we acted differently, right? That when we came into Egypt, right, and that's it. Now I tell my kids this. It's a hard lesson for us to learn. It's a very hard lesson. Jews throughout the ages have really struggled with this. But when we come into a culture, we're very good at looking like the culture. And that's always been, from day one, we're seeing that. That's not good. That's to our detriment, right? When we try to come into a culture and we try to be more of that culture than somebody else, it makes the culture uncomfortable. Whereas the Jewish idea is we go into a culture and we're very respectful of the culture, but we say this is what we do. Our standards, we're not there to impose them on you, but we have our own standards. We have to look Jewish. We have to act Jewish. We have to talk Jewish, right? We have to speak in a way that is befitting of our status, of people that are trying to make the world a better place, right? I'm mostly talking to myself. It's easy to forget this, right? Then it says great and mighty. It says that we grew tremendously, and the math is stunning. Frankly, we went from 70 people to about 15 million people over the course of 210 years. That's the idea. So we went into a very big growth spurt. And then it says that we were numerous there. What does it mean, numerous? That's a very interesting thing the Haggada is going to say. It says that it brings a verse to explain this, a verse in the Torah. It says that I made you as numerous as the plants of the field. You grew and developed and became charming, beautiful figure, and your hair had grown long, but you were naked and bare. And I passed over you, and you saw you downtrodden in your blood, and I said to you, through your blood you shall live, and I said to you, through your blood you shall live. So again, if you're reading this for the first time at the Seder night, you're like, okay, I don't know what that meant. That was nice. Can you pass the parsley, because I'm getting a little bit hungry. Or maybe you're not hungry because this whole thing took about 2 minutes because you just read through it and didn't think about it. But what does that mean, right? So it explains the following concept: that what does it mean, naked and bare? That I grew and I became beautiful and fully formed, but I was naked and bare. And then there was this blood, and that I'm going to live through the blood. What the heck's going on? So there's certain ideas like this. The Jewish people were developing. And as we developed, we showed signs of maturity, that we were ready to be born, that we were ready to become a Jewish people, right? But we were naked and bare. We were uncovered. What is uncovered? So the idea was we hadn't yet, even though we had grown to maturity, we hadn't started to take on the signs of maturity. What are the signs of maturity? So unlike what people might tell you, it is not getting a car, which your parents usually buy for you nowadays anyway, or drinking booze, which you've been drinking anyway since you were 13, or anything else. The signs of maturity is taking responsibility to do what you have to do. Do what you're meant to do. So for the Jewish people, we didn't have any mitzvahs. We didn't do any commandments yet. So God, I can't take you out because you didn't do anything that would merit you being taken out. You're ready to come out. You're ready to go, but not. And that's the amazing thing. Teenagers are miserable. Why are teenagers miserable? Because they're ready for so much more than society's letting them to do. Teenagers, for the last, thousands of years, kids, 16, 17, 18 years old, even 100 years ago, what was he doing? So, if you go even look in Israel today, 18-year-old kid, he's got a gun and he's wandering through, he joins the army a lot of time, he's wandering through, he's taking his life in his hands, right? He's a man. He's doing all, people were getting married, people were working in the family business. Now suddenly teenagers, you don't really grow up until you're like 30, right? Or 25 or 21. Or you have this old teenage years, so you're like stuck in this awkward garden state. That's an old reference because I'm old now. An awkward state where you're not able to do anything that you really are intellectually, emotionally ready to do. You're not starting a family, you're not starting the business. You're doing all stuff. So it creates this tension, right? So Jewish people have that tension. So God said, through your blood you will live. What's the blood? So the amazing concept is the blood was the blood of the bris milah, of the circumcision, and the blood of the carbon pesach. Now both of these things are very, very, how do you say, they're large elements. The blood, we're going to get into that. But what does the blood symbolize? The blood symbolizes the work, right? They're the skin in the game. That we were willing to bleed, so to speak, for what we wanted to do. We were willing to actually make steps, to actually give something up. And once God saw that not only were we ready to go, but we were starting to make the actions that would facilitate us acting like Jews, God said, okay, so that's all of a sudden now we're starting to show the signs of real maturity.